Friday. And if you'd like to get in on the discussion about Fletcher Cox, I think that's a big one too. Should they be focused on Cox? I think that's something like, here's the thing. I understand that you need to build a football team and you got an offensive-minded head coach, and I also understand that Jeffrey Lurie really loves offense. But if you love defense, then you got to love Cox. That's all I'm saying. 610-632. And we'll have some great prizes. And we're also talking about Cox today at 888-729-9.
Fletcher Cox before anybody else, because although I love Lane Johnson and the offensive line needs him, we need Fletcher Cox on the defense just as bad as we need anybody else, including a quarterback. He's just that. He's going to be that dominant. You can see it. You can't.
What is it you like about Cox?
Everything. I mean, he's to me, it looks like, he goes all the way. He goes hard. He obviously.
I agree. Cox is hard. And that's what I think this team is missing.
We have been missing that for a long time. That punch you in the face defense of tackle that is going to, make the big stop that we need on a 3rd and short. I like him. He's good. It looks like he can command the defense. We need him.
They're flaccid without Cox.
Exactly. They need to get him locked down for a long time. I mean, you redid Brent Selleck's contract. I mean, it's not that much money, but still, it's like you're out there worried about, the wrong people. We need him. And
yeah.
For that,
as far as Cox goes, is he harder than anybody on that defense?
He's probably, I think so. I mean, he's, what he reminds me of is Jason Peters in his early years. Remember, Jason Peters was always that big, tough, left tackle. Nobody wanted to play. He's like that defensive tackle. He's a lot, he's tough. He's as great as anybody is out there now. If I'm building a defensive line, I think I take him because of his age. He can only grow up. He's not going to grow down. He's not going to turn into something less.
The problem I see with Peters right now is he's always limping around. And the thing about Cox is it's never limp.
Right. Yeah. He's young. That's why we need him. I'm saying the younger Peterson, 10 years ago.
Peters.
Right, Peters, right.
Peters used to be hard, but now Cox is harder.
Right. So for that, we need to get him locked in. We need him. And for him not to be the first person you sign to a long contract, you're slime for that. And yes,
totally. The limp Peters is what I have a problem with.
Well, I mean, who else are we going to get that's going to get into that position? Or, I mean, if we go there, we can't go there first round. Everybody's talking about going there, in a quarterback range.
Uh-huh.
So, I mean, take him. See what happens with the quarterback on where we go. You could take who's out there?
And I think the good news too, Josh, and this is where I think we're kind of leaning more towards a prime time and not a slime time, is that we've already secured a tight end. Now we just need a Cox to make the whole thing kind of go.
True.
Yeah.
But
because again, we got the tight end, and now we need Cox.
We need Cox.
No question.
That should be done today. That should be done now. It should already be reported, that it's done. I just feel like that should have been done faster.
No, totally agree. And you know what, though? There's no question, though, that you keep Cox, this defense gets harder.
Absolutely.
No question, man. All right, man. Thank you, Josh. Appreciate it. You're in the mix, bud. But I gave her a couple of options because she has a green Barwin jersey, and her other jersey, the Matthews jersey, is white. So I gave her the opportunity. I said, you can get the white Johnson jersey or the black Cox jersey. And strangely, she took the black Cox. So she went with the black Cox jersey, and she looks good. She wore it to the game on that Sunday whenever they did the blackout. It was a Sunday or Monday night football?
Was it Sunday night? I think it was Sunday night.
I think it was a Sunday night game. And I said, listen, you can have white Johnson or black Cox. She said, well, I love black Cox. So I said we were going to get the black Cox jersey, and she wore it to the blackout. 888-729-9494. But that one was a little tight. But, she looks good in it anyway. All right, let's see.
When I first called, somebody, you guys are talking about signings, and Fletcher Cox is only going to be better in the 4-3. And as he grows a little more experience, he's going to be a beast.
I really hope that Cox grows a little bit more. If he continues to grow, I really feel that this defense has a chance to explode.
what we really need to get Cox wrapped up before we go into this thing.
No question. No question. I think things could get really ugly, and and the contract talks could get really dirty. And I think wrapping up Cox is a really big deal for this team moving forward. No question.
Yeah, it's a good idea. And another thing, I think, we already have Johnson wrapped up. So if we slide Peters inside and put Johnson over there on the end, he will be able to open that hole right up, and we can run right through it.
Yeah, Jeremy, that's a really, really that is a great one. I wish it were possible to like double wrap up Cox. Like I wish if that were possible, like have him for the next 50 years. I mean, that guy is transcendent.
Well, I don't know. That could be a little dangerous. Something might tear.
Exactly. I mean, we're talking about Cox, we're talking about Peters, and we're talking about Johnson. I mean, you think about this offensive line right now. I mean, on one side of the ball, you got Cox. On the other end, you've got Peters and Johnson. And can you really substitute can you take the Peters and get rid of Peters for a Johnson? And I think that's where you're going to run into a dilemma. Because here's the thing. That's a really talented Peters. I mean, Peters is super talented, and Johnson is talented in one realm, but can he move over to the other side and have the same impact as Peters did?
That is a question. He did good in one game, and that next game that he was in there, he got taken advantage of. And I think it's going to take a little bit of time for Johnson to move over on Peters' side.
Absolutely, man. I mean, it's not a horrible situation though to have Peters and Johnson. I mean, you got to feel pretty blessed in that situation.
Yeah, because you kind of got your bookends for right now, and what you're trying to build a strong offensive defensive line, and I think they're going the right way about it.
And that defensive line is even stronger, because once they lock up Cox and they get Cox on lock, I think that's when things can all fall into place. They got Benny Logan on the line. They've got a talented defensive line. But really, Cox solidifies the line. And you want to have that solid presence in your line, that firm presence in that line for years to come. I think that's huge.
Yeah, kind